Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Menachem Creditor. It's my honor to serve as scholar in residence and rabbi for UJA Federation of New York. We bring you Torah and music, blessing, and community every weekday. We've been doing so since March 18th, 2020. It's the middle of July, 2025. It's broadcast 1,347. It is day 650 since October 7th. It's been a blessing to be part of this community, come together with people from all over the world, say good morning by name, to learn a little bit of Torah, to make the day a better one for ourselves, for each other, and for the world around us. So let's see who's here so we can say good morning to each other. Jonathan and Catherine, Rosa, it's good to see you. Linda, Boker Tov, kind soul, nice to see you too. Arlene, Boker Tov. Hi Amy. I hope it's not too noisy, friends. There's a lot of ambient noise, but I am at Broadway and 73rd in Manhattan, and this is what it sounds like this morning. Arlene and Jerry, Debbie, good to see you. Hi Jack, Boker Tov. Let's take a breath while others are joining us. We'll sing a bracha, we'll learn some Torah. Catherine, we've missed you on time, but you're always here, we know. Gail and Sharon and Marcia, Boker Tov, friends. Hi Minna. Okay, here's a breath and a bracha. Ya la 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 la, diddy la 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 la, diddy la 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 la, ay la la la, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech haolam Asher Kiddushanu B'mitzvotav v'tzivanu La'asok b'divrei Torah La'asok b'divrei Torah Hafoch ba v'hafoch ba La'asok b'divrei Torah Diddy la 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 Diddy la 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 Diddy la 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 Ay la la la. Good morning, friends. Penny, my apologies. Yes, I took your line. Friends, it's broadcast 1,347. It is day 650 since October 7th. Let's learn some Torah. It's Parshat Pinchas. And among the parts of Pinchas that require attention is Pinchas. So who was he? What did he do? He was a descendant of Aaron the high priest. And here he is acting in a way that is complicated for us today, to say the least. Pinchas, his story happens in the aftermath of other stories. So it's important to remember that after the king Balak hired the prophet Balaam to curse the people, there then broke out a plague among Israel. Not that the curse worked, but other things got in the way. And Bnei Israel were seduced to worship other gods. A plague breaks out, and the culmination of this plague, what we could call the apotheosis of it, the ultimate manifestation of the plague, is a prince of Israel and a princess from the people of Midian, there's no other way to say it, fornicate right outside of the tent of meeting. Pinchas is a child of the priestly family. That is where he did his holy work. And he is so enraged by what he sees. The violation not only of norms, but in the precincts of the holy, that he grabs a spear, and according to the text, he spears through both the Israelite prince and the Midianite princess, and the text is graphic about where he did the piercing. I'll leave it to you to look it up in the text. It is complicated for a million reasons, including that God seems to approve of what Pinchas has done. And the phrase that is used in the Torah to describe God's own expression is that Pinchas was bekinato et kinati. Pinchas was, and the translation here matters, was passionate on behalf of my passion. That's how some gentle translations do it. But other translations say, he was jealous on my behalf, says God. What does it mean to be jealous on God's behalf? We have seen people in recent history act in the name of what they believe to be God's truth and hurt people. And that could be what Pinchas did. And at least according to the Torah's notion of what God approves of, well, that seems to meet with God's approval. But that's very hard for us. There's a difference between the ethical use of power for self-defense and a fundamentalist use of power to kill others. I'm sitting in Manhattan, where just down the block, 70 blocks south of here, in 2001, people acting in the name of God flew planes into buildings. There are other examples, some even closer to home. But to act on behalf of what you think God believes is true, and to erase an image of God, well, that's blasphemous in my eyes. How then can we reconcile ourselves to a text that is so violent and seems to bless Pinchas for the violent act? Here's what I would offer. It's me reading into the text. This is what we call drash, not pshat. It's not really what the text is saying, but it's what I hope the text would mean today. There are two visual oddities, textual oddities, in this section of the Torah. Pinchas's name, Pinchas, is spelled with a yud. But if you look into a Torah scroll where Pinchas's name is said, the yud is somehow much smaller than it's supposed to be. And often when in a Torah text you see a letter drawn strangely or differently, that could pose a problem. The Torah might need repair. But in this case, Pinchas's name is intentionally written with a small yud. What I believe that means is similar to other times in the Torah where someone's name is changed, that God is involved and there's a hidden message. Avram becomes Avraham, Sarai becomes Sarah, Hosea becomes Yehoshua, Yaakov becomes Yisrael. In this case, Pinchas, the part of him, the yud that might even connect with God's holy name, is made smaller because of this violent act. That's my read of this. That the God within Pinchas is somehow made smaller by this terrible, terrible act. It's hard not to read this way. How can I associate violence with God's will? Again, not self-defense, but violence. There's another textual oddity that has always stood out to me in this week's Parsha. When God says that Pinchas was bikinao et kinati, Pinchas was jealous on my behalf. God then blesses Pinchas with something called Briti Shalom, my covenant of peace, and I have always had trouble with that. How, especially after a violent act, could Pinchas be blessed with a covenant of peace, of God's peace? Well, again, if you look at the text of the Torah itself, the word shalom, peace, the covenant of shalom that Pinchas is blessed with is strange visually. How so? The word shalom is spelled with a vav. That vav in every Torah scroll is always broken. One line is a vav with a break in between. And anywhere else in the Torah that you would see a word, a letter, with a break in its writing, it would require repair for the Torah to be kosher. In this case, a kosher Torah has to have a broken vav. And for me, that's where I will leave this lesson. Pinchas has become diminished by this violent act, and the peace with which God blesses him and his descendants is incomplete because it was achieved through violence. We cannot become shlemim. We cannot become whole through violent action. We cannot. To be jealous on behalf of God. I would combine these two parts of this interpretation and say, if we act violently, then the part of God that is within us is broken. And I pray that that is not what we aspire to. I pray that when we read Pinchas's actions, we respond with revulsion, not blessing, not affirmation. That's not who we could be. That's not how we should want to be. It's not how the world should be. It's not what living with God looks like. So I know that it's an incomplete message. It's a message of Torah without tying a ribbon at the end, but that's, friends, I think pretty honest about our world right now. We cannot celebrate the use of force. If it's necessary, may it be done ethically, and may it end. May the war end. May the need for war end. May our beloveds be home, and we find a way back to a shalom without the brokenness, one step at a time, so that we can be the fullness of who we are without any diminishment inside us. Let's take a bracha, take this moment of blessing, of aspiration, of knowing that we are called to something greater. And let's pray for the release of our 50 beloveds. Sing with me, friends. Kolon baleva v'nima nefesh Yehudi homiya ulefatei mizrach kadima ayim b'tzil tzofia od lo avda tikvateinu התקווה בת שנות 2000 להיות עם חופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון וירושלים להיות עם חופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון Yerushalayim. Bring them home now. Am Yisrael Chai. See you tomorrow, my friends.